Welcome back to the Clone Cops podcast.
I'm Phillip Cordell, co-writer, actor.
I'm Danny Dones, co-writer and director.
I'm Charles Royce, VFX Supervisor and producer.
And I'm Corey Allen, cinematographer. And this is what we're...
Let's go!
Can't see me? I don't know. Welcome back. For those of you that are sticking around this long, we appreciate you. This episode, we're going to spend some time talking about actually making the movie, like production. Previously, we've talked about pre-production. We've talked about all the different things that make up actually getting to the point where you can start to shoot the movie. So I'd love to start out today with just maybe your first memory from day one on set of principal photography. And we can just start with Charles and work our way back down.
I mean, the only thing that's emblazoned in my mind is someone coming in and going, Phillip had a wreck. The motorcycle, which I was obsessed with, I was like, is this the most beautiful little cycle I've ever seen? And now it's ruined. And I was probably more upset about that than Phillip being okay. But, you know, I also had concern about Phillip. And anyway, tell something about that. Because, I mean, I was there for watching it, but for some reason I didn't catch the one where you crashed.
There was no one. We weren't rolling.
As soon as I got on the motorcycle, the scooter.
Oh, that's it.
I think that's everybody's probably like day one memory.
It's the first thing that happened.
First thing that happened, we hadn't even rolled a shot yet.
Day one, prepping for shot one.
Yeah, and we've got this vintage, beautiful vintage like Vespa. It's probably not a Vespa. I'm
It
sure.
is. It was
Was
Vespa.
it a Vespa?
Yeah.
And it was just like this powder blue, just matched the scene so well, and you'd had all these amazing graphics put on it, and it was so great. And Phil is learning to drive it.
Well, he dropped it off, and he's like, "Cool, you know how to drive one of these?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've driven a scooter before." Yeah, I'll be fine. How hard could it be?
And I have done the exact same thing that you did, which is, and if you've ever ridden a scooter before, like when you go to grab the brake is a lever, but also sometimes the gas is a twist on the same handle. And so you roll your hand forward to grab the brake and you gas it when you do that.
And I'm wearing these gloves, our sticky gloves, the Clone Cops gloves.
Which is your first day wearing those?
And you careen into this low wall and just all I see is your right hand smash that wall. Oh. And my immediate thought was, he just broke his hand, and we're gonna have to do this whole movie with his hand in a cast, and we're gonna have to figure this out because we're not recasting him.
Yeah, my first thought was, I wonder if anybody saw that.
And then you turn around and you're like, oh yeah, everybody saw that.
And everybody comes rushing. Oh, are you okay? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Get away. Of course. I tried to be cool.
You did that thing like when you do something and it's embarrassing. Yeah, and you're like, I'm fine.
It's fine. It's good. Let's do it again. Let's roll it. Let's get me back on the bike. And you're like, dude, you're a little worked up. You need to just take a beat. Okay. Yeah, real day the music died moment there.
And then we started our day.
Yeah, and I remember I walked up to our gaffer, to Barrett Dennis, and I was like, yeah, man, so that was wild, huh? He's like, dude, I'm glad to hear you say that. I wasn't sure if you're going to be cool about it or like be weird about it. Like, that was wild. And Barrett's worked a bunch of movies. He's like, there's always something that happens, you know? So it's like good to just get that out of the way. I was like, yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's amazing.
So that was a wild way to kick off day one of a otherwise super fun 15-day experience that we all got to spend together on set of Clone Cops, right? And from there, we rolled right into... I mean, we shot kind of sequentially, right? Did we start in the hideout or did we start with the granny stuff?
No, we started with the granny stuff.
Okay.
Because so if you've seen the movie, if you're watching the movie, that scene where the clone cop rolls up on the Vespa, that wall right in front of him is the one we're talking about. And then we got that shot in the can and then immediately went into the granny coverage at the door, which for me, my first day experience was definitely the Vespa. But then immediately the borderline nightmare of getting this, we shot it like 6 different ways because we shot interior to exterior, exterior to interior, did both with and without green screen for comping of Granny and the hologram work.
Which I know that was a pain. I remember it being in pain. Barrett was not really into that part.
He was into it. It was
just difficult.
It was
yeah.
it was
It
a
was a
difficult
challenge.
like first half of the day. Like we're doing one of the hardest things technically.
Driving a scooter. Yep, it's
Yeah,
true.
Yeah,
That was
That was
the
true, too.
most technically challenging shot in the entire movie, I would say.
But I gotta tell you, for VFX, it was the easiest to compile because of everything that you guys did to bring that to life.
Indie filmmakers, this is why you need a VFX supervisor on site.
absolutely.
And also people like Barrett who kind of have done this for VFX to be whispering in my ear, you're wrong about this, and then I would be like uncertain. Anyway, we'll get to that part.
Was he right or was he wrong?
He was right about that, and was probably right about everything.
He was right about everything.
He was.
Don't tell him that. Don't. He
I
can't
just was
listen
like,
to this episode.
this is what I know how to do. Trust me, I know how this works in my head.
Yeah.
And I was so wrong.
Well, right. It was theoretical.
Yeah.
It was not yet practical.
Yep. I had practiced, but I practiced on simple things.
I had a firm grasp on that scene and what needed to be shot and how to shoot it.
Yeah.
The lighting, I had no grasp on. But in terms of like where we needed green screen and where we didn't, I felt very comfortable in that. So I at no point in that scene did I feel like we were lost. I always kind of knew what we were doing, and yeah, it was a challenge for sure. Yeah.
And then we jumped straight from that green screen stuff into a stunt, into like us wrestling with the gun, right? Yeah. Which like if we'd have pushed that to the back end of the film, that probably would have come out a little differently,
Yeah.
And instead, it's day one, and we're like, okay, I guess now we're fight over the gun.
Yeah, just do it. Just do it.
Do it. Make it look like a struggle.
And that night, Laura Holloway, who plays Porter, she and I are sending text messages back and forth of our arms all bruised up, where we're just like kind of fighting. The gun had left these marks on both of us, and I was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and for the record, that was one of the scenes that we did not have a coordinator on.
Yeah, I don't think you need to tell anybody that.
They can tell? You think they can tell?
Just in case. Just in case.
Yeah, and also, if this is episode 4, if you haven't watched the movie yet, go watch the movie.
Yeah, see that movie.
Yeah.
Where can they watch the movie?
You can watch that anywhere that you stream transactional video on demand movies. So,
TVOD.
TVOD.
Amazon.
TVOD movies. So you can do it.
Apple TV.
Apple TV, Amazon.
Fandango at home.
Or you can watch it for free if you have a library card on Hoopla.
Yeah.
Indie film hack.
YouTube movies, right? YouTube.
Yeah, you can rent it on
YouTube
YouTube.
movies,
YouTube movies.
Google Play, Xbox,
Yep.
Microsoft.
If you've got cable, Cox, Spectrum, Verizon, Fios.
Fios.
Yeah, you can rent it on all. I mean, it's which again, as the filmmaking crew behind it, we're thrilled about. To be widely available is such a trip.
Also, Cox Spectrum is a different movie that you might not want to send people to.
No, I want them to see. Better cover your ears.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Go check us out. If you're enjoying the podcast, you're gonna love the movie.
And if you're not enjoying the podcast,
You're gonna love.
You're
the
gonna
movie.
you're going to love the
love
movie.
the movie.
You're still going to love the movie. Yeah.
Buy, don't rent. Clone Caps today.
Any other day one big memories, big stories?
I blacked out after the motorcycle thing.
I loved what we accomplished on the Vespa scene to kind of map out, okay, well, we want this to feel larger than life. Can I extend the building,
In post.
In post.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Wait, so that building wasn't really multiple
no,
stories?
it was one story, very mid-century, your typical mid-century one-story, thing. And then so you, panned out? How do you say that? You zoomed out?
What?
You made it bigger.
He didn't pull it. Corey never.
I never
You made
pull
it
out.
bigger.
I never pull out.
Good God.
It's going to be one of those.
What's
This
the
is the one.
turnaround?
We couldn't help ourselves.
Anyway,
it took 4
so we-
episodes and we're finally there.
We added space so I could accomplish that.
Yeah.
It is
yeah,
one of my
yeah.
favorite things that we did. So it was fun.
The thing we didn't do that I think about a lot is there was originally we were going to have a bunch of stuff shot of the moped, like close-ups. We were going to get like the wheels on the road,
Yeah,
like
your
established it as,
traditional like
yeah, and we're going to
series
build
of-
it up like it was going to be this badass like patrolman, like, oh, this guy's going to be so badass, and then he putts into the frame you do see was the end of that where he putts into the frame like Like that was the joke in there. And it turns out, we managed to make it work, I think, without all that stuff. But
Well, and why did we cut that? Because
we
time?
didn't shoot it.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying it was budget restraints. I mean, I know on the reel they had issues replacing some of the parts that I damaged on the Vespa. That actually turned into a thing where we had to pay.
Oh yeah, no, that's not why we didn't shoot. We didn't shoot it because it's hard to shoot moving vehicles.
Yeah.
It's expensive and there's a lot of safety concerns, and we didn't want to like cut corners and have people hanging off the back of a pickup truck with a camera in their hand.
Yeah, if we were going to do it, we wanted to do it right with whether it was a process trailer for all the close-ups or a follow car, and just a whole much bigger
Whole thing.
ordeal. Yeah.
Not that movie.
Yeah.
Well, right,
Saving
and
that
that's
one for two.
and that's where you get into the difference between just fly by the seat of your pants indie filmmaking and trying to do it the right way. Because we could have run out with just me on the moped and you hanging out a car, but we were very committed to like making sure it's done safely and the right way, which in this case would have included either having a street shut down or finding some back road that we could put people at either end of to make sure there's nobody coming and going, which is a big to do, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. And certainly many fantastic filmmakers have gone out there and shot guerrilla style stuff and come away with great stuff. It just wasn't something I was comfortable doing.
It's very much the right call. And what you end up getting, though, is still a hilarious entrance of the clone cop.
Yeah, well, and I think, the stuff that we did later, too, adds so much to it. And
Yeah.
the you singing the song as you're walking up,
Yes.
that was added in post. That was really funny.
Yeah, and we had a lot of ideas, and sometimes you don't just go with the first idea that you have. You got to kind of choose from a bevy of ideas. Oh, sorry.
Jesus Christ.
Why don't you let me operate the board?
No, I want to do it. So you don't just choose the first idea.
You don't just pull the trigger on the first gun that gives you a chub.
Right.
You romance it a bit. Take it to Arby's.
That's right. Tell him, Brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Corey.
Yeah.
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 So day one was a blast, and we packed in. I mean, a lot of the stories that we tell people about the film did happen on day one, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of our big takeaways we learned quickly on
Yeah.
day one. Oh, the stunt, we probably didn't learn the stunt coordinator is so crucial until day whatever. You knew?
As we were shooting it,
Yeah.
I was like, oof.
Not getting what you wanted.
Yeah, we're gonna have to save this in the edit, and not nothing to knock y'all's performance.
Yeah.
It was just that kind of stuff is just out of my wheelhouse, and I just didn't know how to shoot it, honestly, and I will firmly take the blame on that.
I mean, I often have to fight people to take a gun from them in
Daily.
real life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Often.
Get a lot of experience to draw from.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, just so same, right? Where it's like, I don't know, just back and forth and back.
I was.
Does this look good? Does this look good?
How about this?
Well, I know we were like, and we shot really frenetically, and we were,
Yeah.
we were handheld, and we were doing all this stuff. And so, in theory, at the time, I was like, in theory, this should work. We should be able to cut this together. And maybe that's another part of it too. Is like, I'm not an action editor either, so like, I lacked those skills to take those pieces and cut them together in a way that felt really exciting. So here I am. Go watch the movie, and here I am trash talking it. But
No, it all worked. It all gets smoothed out. But I'm sure as people watch it, they're probably wondering why Farrah is, doing badass foot sweeps and,
Yeah.
and uppercut slices, and then we're, struggling just for
Yeah.
a gun back and forth.
I can remember too, first day. I mean, this is my first feature film. So like, this is day one of my first feature film, and I was real nervous. So I definitely had some of that energy as well. And like, just being unsure of my place there and working with actors that, of the caliber that we had was a new thing to me. I'm used to working with you.
Better cover your ears. Feelings getting hurt.
So I definitely had some jitters, I think, on day one. Did
Yeah.
you?
Did I?
Yeah, were you totally comfortable?
No, I mean, again, just to keep going back to the same thing, slamming that scooter into the wall spiked me, and everything else was pretty chill.
Yeah.
I
That's
went
a
ahead.
good icebreaker.
I
It
should've
is. I
crashed
went
the
ahead and
scooter.
got that. Yeah, we gotta get you on this bike into a wall, bro. You want to find Zen. That's how you get there. But I mean, that really did get me so worked up right off the rip that everything else was just like, all right, it's gonna be okay. And acting in my first feature, in this type of role, especially, it was. I probably would have been more nervous, but I'd already been elevated and then was back to like, all right, this is cool. These are our friends. And there was that element of like, we pulled this whole movie together. So like, you know, it's kind of our thing to live or die by, you know, between all, you know, all of us, the team here. Right. Or so to me, that took a lot of the, you know, whatever weird anxiety or willies out. It's like, yeah, fuck it. It's our thing. Excuse me.
Sorry, Mom.
It's okay. It's okay.
My children are crying now.
So
So question for you, man. I mean, on the cinematography side of things, what was your process like getting into it, especially kicking off the whole film?
It was very stressful. That was a lot of fun. You know, Danny and I had some good conversations early on about what we wanted the film to look like, what we wanted it to feel like, inspirations, both that I think also we previously talked about kind of inspired some of the storytelling from a writing standpoint, but also some of those same films I think were big influences on the look from a cinematography standpoint. You know, we talked a lot about RoboCop and a lot of films of that era and of that style. And I think what's been great is as we've been out screening the movie for audiences on our theatrical tour, you know, when we do Q&As after that, before we even talk about inspirations, a lot of times others are sharing or asking the question of, you know, did you pull inspiration from RoboCop? Or there's clear, you know, influences around things like Starship Troopers. All things that are true that are great for, you know, for us to see and hear people make those connections before we even talk about it. You know, I've always, growing up, was inspired by the cinematography of Dean Cundey. A lot of great sci-fi films of our era and even before us, when I was probably not old enough to watch things like The Thing was great. All the Back to the Future series, pretty much you name it, late 80s, early 90s, sci-fi, like big theatrical work was probably Dean Cundey or somewhere really close to that. So, you know, I wanted to take a similar approach to get a similar feel of that time, whether it's, you know, lighting the majority of our sets in a 360 kind of accompaniment to be able to really quickly not only cover what was going on, but also like light the space, not the face, and be really intentional on, like, you could walk in here without a camera and say, damn, this looks cool. And then you put it on camera, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it does look cool. Like, that worked. And then same thing with the camera movement, trying to be as intentional as we could around when was it handheld? When did it feel almost borderline too shaky? Like in some of the more emotional moments where you're no longer a voyeur, but you're actually a part of the gang and like you're really feeling that emotion. Or when is the camera just mounted to a dolly and we're slowly creeping around the space? Like all of that, trying to match the energy of the moment in the story versus, you know, what the camera and the lighting does as well. So it was a lot of fun.
And you came up doing music videos, a lot of music videos, right?
Yeah.
So like when we would do the elements, like the Hit Squad kind of 30 for 30 style thing that we did, and the music video kind of inspired the dance sequence and stuff. Was that like
dancing?
Was that like a comfortable, like going home kind of thing, or was that kind of like, oh, here I am again doing this?
No, those were great because to your point, it was like, oh, this I am most comfortable with. Like, very rarely do music videos include coverage of like a wide and a close up and a shot and a reverse shot. Like, you don't do coverage in music videos or commercials the same way you would to give an editor enough to cut a story together. So those were more work than, like, the dance off was great because, like, I look at Barrett and say, you know, make this look like the thing we shot a month ago. And then our first AC chase, like, hey, you know the deal, like, stick with me, here we go. It's just another dance sequence. Like, you know, it all worked out super easy, and like that was a lot of fun. Aside from shooting the dance off 3 different times.
Yeah,
Because we love dancing so much?
Yeah.
that's why.
Sure.
That's why.
That was my favorite day of the whole shoot, though.
Which one?
Which one? The first time, the second time, or the
Oh,
The first
sorry.
was the
The
biggest.
first.
Yeah.
The first. I understand what you're saying now. Yes.
Yeah.
We had a slight continuity
Slight.
misfire, and we had to shoot it 2 more times. Well, I don't know. That was the second time we just ran out of time, right? We ran out of daylight.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and because we kept trying to squeeze it in, whenever we could. And so if we were running ahead of schedule, it'd be like, let's go outside and shoot the dance off real quick. And so we did that 2 more times. And I don't think you can tell. I think it all looks great.
And I don't even think, did we shoot the actual dance off multiple times? We just shot the sequence at the button, right?
Yeah, I think it was more the button. We definitely did the dance just one time. But that was one setup. But we kept going back to the finger and the button and then trying to get it to match.
I know. I heard it too.
Can't believe you said that. It's a family-friendly podcast.
What did I say?
What are you smiling at?
Finger in the button.
Oh.
Anyway.
Goodness.
It's funny.
But yeah, that I got nothing.
That one got Danny really good.
I got nothing.
So you thought about all that stuff before we shot the movie?
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing too was,
I didn't think about any of that stuff.
and it must be nice. You just show up and read your lines.
Just show up and crash things.
Fucking actors, man.
What are you smiling at?
To be fair, you wrote a lot of the lines that you had to memorize later.
Oh, I did. It was beautiful. It was great.
Yeah, but going back to some of the work put in around the cinematography, we had several different scenes, and some of those scenes occur in like our real world, and some occur in our televised world. So, like the lab was one in particular, where once we got into the location, and obviously it was set and lit very much like a stage, we also knew that we would see that from our Crime Time 360 perspective too. So being really intentional on shooting those scenes with a different camera and a different lens to be a little cleaner. Also had a totally different color look to it.
What were the A cam and B cam that we shot?
Yeah, so the A camera was the Arri Alexa Mini with Atlas Orions, and the B camera was the Red Komodo with a Canon L series, like super wide angle, almost fisheye lens.
And that was for like our security footage and the clone cop helmet cams and all that
The
stuff.
webcam, the helmet cam, the security cam, all of that was very much really wide angle, really kind of weird looking, small, tiny camera feel.
Even though it was a badass.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. That's what's funny. Is like you could have shot on
A
and for those that don't know, Corey is a serious gearhead, right? And so that's another strategic advantage that we had to make in the film, is that Corey had a lot of this gear already. It's like, I'll bring it out, and it added so much production value.
It did.
And we did have a GoPro.
We did. The
The
crab.
crab had a GoPro on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 shots.
We sent somebody out with
We
the crab.
sent Jared Gentry out
Yeah.
to like, hey, go get some B-roll just so we can have some crab coverage to cut in. Never made it.
Never made it. It's fun to watch though. It's
Zipping
like
around.
Yeah, just zipping around, like him exploring the grounds with this stupid little crab. Yeah, they were fun to watch. Maybe they'll make the director's cut. Like Crab's Day Out.
Crab's Day Out. I can see the logo.
Yeah, that's funny. Then, Chuck, what about for you? The VFX side. There was a ton, not only on the day when we were shooting, but also in post. Like, what was that experience like?
That experience was almost overwhelming. So I broke it down into, I basically did it linearly after we had decided on final, basically what we were calling the final cut at the time. And the very first thing I did then was, to your point from an earlier episode, we talked about like, what did we do first? We did the training video. And at that point in my VFX knowledge, I didn't have much. So I did all of the training video in one After Effects file, which was a total 100% stupid mistake, because every time I would have to change that, which we changed it a lot. I would have to re-render that stuff, and that takes so long to render. So anyway, started out with that. But then I think the biggest thing that I remember about VFX for me was all of the screens. We had so many screens in this movie, from the hideout to the lab to, what's happening on, what do you call it? Crime Time 360.
Crime Time 360.
And every decision that I wanted to make was based on the experience that I'd already had with replacing screens, which was just me playing around on like a video with a green screen. And those are so easy because you don't have the parameters of reflections and lighting and everything that's going on in a movie. So when we got to set, all I had was that knowledge, and I brought it there, and I thought I knew exactly what to do, and every decision that I made on set was wrong. And Barrett was like, every single time you play it, dude, I think that you just want a blank screen because that way you get the reflections. And I'm like, no, I need a green screen. I know exactly what I'm doing. And I beat myself up later because it took so much more work to replace those screens. But I figured it out, and I learned a lot in the process. And now I can probably replace any screen in America with what I want it to be.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
so
great.
Watch out for the propaganda videos I'm going to put out.
Clone media is real. People need to know.
Yes. You need to do your own research.
Yeah.
Chuck, how many other people were on your team for VFX?
No one. It was me, but I utilized a lot of, pre-populated After Effects files for the way that I wanted text to look, the way that we decided we wanted the hideout computer to look. I used stuff that had already been created and then modified it to tailor it to us. And that way I didn't have to worry about the animation part, but I did have to worry about, okay, well, how does this fit in with the scenes that we have, and which is its own kind of entity. But I use a lot of templates, a lot of things that are out there that are not expensive for those people who want to take a crack at doing their own VFX, to get online and buy Elements. Pixar has some great videos, and basically like little images. We used a lot of tiny icons in the Crime Time 360 stuff that are free to use for commercial use, which is the most important part.
Everything properly licensed for
everything
its
properly.
use.
I've got I just have a crap ton of licenses. And what else?
Well, you remember? Go ahead.
Sorry, the VFX. What is it called?
Action VFX.
Action VFX.
In that world that the world keeps getting smaller and smaller, we had so many people tell us, "Oh yeah, all you really need is Action VFX." We're like, "Well, where are they from? What's that going to be like?" They're out of Knoxville, and everybody in the industry uses them.
Everybody in the industry uses them, and I can see why. Their special effects are top notch. And when I use their things and the action sequences, it only takes a little bit of lighting and maneuvering and transparency and all that stuff to get it to where I want it. It's just there's so much that you have to do in an action sequence. It takes so long to get it right and to get it to where it looks realistic. And Danny and I have gone round and round with those battle scenes, and I'm happy with probably 85% of what I did. I can still see the stuff that goes, that could have been better.
Well, we don't see it. Nobody sees it.
We had an airsoft gun, right, that provided real recoil that Kinder is using, and then you went in and put every single bullet that popped out of that chamber, right?
Yep.
Which is wild to me.
Shell casing.
Shell casing. Yeah, absolutely.
The
bullets ended up in the clones.
The bullets were its own file, but the thing that opens up to let the bullets out, that was all, like, I created that. So that had to go like that.
As y'all can tell,
Chuck's
big
big
I'm
gun.
doing this.
gun guy.
Yeah, a huge gun guy. I know exactly what they sound like and exactly what they look like. Danny's like, that blast is not right, Chuck.
The thing that blew my mind when I would come over and we would work on it is to watch you work on your laptop with the touchpad. I was like, how are you doing that? Like, you're just like with that touchpad.
All I use is a touchpad.
It blew my. I was like, I have to have a mouse. I can't do that fine work.
Well, and we've had people be like, "So who did your VFX? I want to get in touch with that guy." Like it came out better than we had any right to be, right?
That's very kind.
And it's like it was just Chuck by himself in a room for 3 months.
I was in my living room. I have the biggest screen in my house, like 72 inches on the wall, and I set it up to look at that through my laptop trackpad. and I did all the work there for 3 months.
And let's give a shout out to the person who suffered the most, your husband.
Chris. Yes, he did. He did.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, he went into the office every chance he could.
That's funny.
That's fun though. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. What about? Can we talk about the face?
I think so at this point. Again, at this point, everybody, we hope who's listening or watching this has seen the film. And yeah, we had a wild little Total Recall Quato moment.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
was
it's a little
fun.
combination of practical effects, or VFX, all pulling together.
Yep.
Yeah, we had Rick Prince, who was on Face Off, right?
Yep.
That's
He
the
was.
show,
Special
He
makeup
was,
effects
He's
show.
a makeup effects artist. He lives here in Nashville, and he came out and did 3 effects with us, I think. He did 4. He did Little Hand, and he did your melty face. And he did some of the scratches.
Claw marks, yeah.
The claw marks. And then he did the
That's right,
the
the claw
Quato moment. And Dion Harris, who plays the Bruiser, they'd already done, like, he'd worked with him before, because Dion used to be the Titans mascot.
He was the first mascot for the Titans.
And so Rick had made the chest plate for him. So he kind of already had some stuff with Dion. So we did that life cast of his chest, which I think we still have somewhere.
Yeah, it's in storage.
Yeah, which is wild.
I go check it out from time to time. Smell it.
I rent it sometimes.
But that all came from our table read. During the table read, somebody had pitched to us that we should have a little face on the Bruiser, and we thought that was hilarious, and so we worked that into what we already had working with Dion. But yeah, it's a very funny moment that gets a audible gasp every time we show the movie.
Yeah, and that was a blend of the two types of effects.
It
Yeah.
was. It was.
And a lot of that stuff, we did it practically. 5. We had a jagged piece of wood coming out of brick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did Rick do that too?
Rick did. He had a piece of foam wood, and he'd done that effect. And then I think you went in and digitally shrunk it down a little bit.
Yeah,
It was a little chunky looking in the final product, and we shrunk it down so that it wasn't quite
Yeah,
so
the
big.
the big chunk would definitely have already been dead.
Yeah.
It just didn't make
Like
much
a
sense.
2x4 sticking out.
Shrunk it down to a
Yeah.
large
Shrunk it
splinter.
down to like a 2x2. Yeah.
But to me, as an indie filmmaker without feature experience, that was fascinating that we had both the practical and then you kind of take the edge off of it or blend it out a little bit with the CG aspect.
That's cool. I haven't thought about that, but SFX and VFX kind of coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of our special effects ended up getting blended and modified. Same as the acid grenade. That was the green, the glowing green is practical, but then the melting, like when it turns black and starts to steam and melting. And you added in a lot of atmosphere that we didn't have on the day.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like
That lens splash too.
yeah, the lens splash was in post.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of great things that you can do.
Are you sure that's in post? Because I remember cleaning that shit off my camera.
It was in post, and there's a great BTS video
Yep.
of that go find it because it's just Danny there with the thing, and when he call we call
A
action.
coffee cup full of green slime.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh that's really fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What about, so we talked a little bit about green screen already, but we obviously had probably 2.5 days of green screen all together. Danny, what was that like as a director, like working with the talent on the green screen?
I think it's certainly, I think it's more challenging for the talent than it is for the director. It's a challenge in the sense that I'm trying to build the world and trying to like kind of help them visualize what's going on there. But ultimately it's up to them to give that performance. Luckily, all of our green screen work translated. We didn't use it the way that like a bigger budget might use that as like to fill in some fantastic scene that they're in. All of our green screen work was them kind of like on monitors, or all of our Crime Time 360 stuff was shot in front of green screen because we knew we were just going to cut. They were going to be talking heads, so we knew we could just cut them out, replace the backgrounds with whatever we wanted. And again, great job adding so much fun stuff behind them.
Well,
And
your inspiration stuff is what made that what it is.
but then we had our two biggest stunt casts in the movie both shot on green screen. So Steve Byrne and Ravi Patel were both green screen days, which was great for us because it allowed us to make the process as easy as possible for them, which I think was alluring in getting them to come out and work with us. We were able to have teleprompter for them, so they didn't have to spend a lot of time because they were chunks of dialogue. They were not. It was not. They were mostly acting to nobody, so it was really nice that we were able to give them the teleprompter so they could just have their lines there.
And Steve is a working comedian, so yes, he lives in Nashville, but he actually flew in from Vegas, right? Drove directly to our location, shot for 2 to 3 hours, then drove back to the airport and flew back out to Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was fantastic.
Such a pro, man.
He was great. They both were. They were fantastic, and I think the green screen was, for our purposes, it was really great to be able to just know that whatever we get here, we can make them like the Ravi stuff on the moon. We had no idea what that was going to look like. The moon behind him, the golf course. We just knew we were going to do it.
Right.
We just knew he was on the moon.
Written, he's on the moon. Right.
And he's playing golf. He's on the moon. He's in space. So that's what we knew going in. So it freed us up to be able to kind of like mold stuff around to the performance and to just really play with it in post and make it something really fun and interesting, as opposed to us just trying to like build a set and have it ready to go when he got there.
Right.
Right. And you can, there's a few different ways you can use a stunt cast. You can use them as the big bad and they just show up in the finale, or place them a few places. But the reality is you have a limited amount of time with them. And we tried to get creative with, it's like, okay, well, if we're going to shoot them on green, you don't want it to look cheesy each time you see them. So how do we make it really fun and different? And Chuck did such a great job on the VFX side of using Ravi really in like 3 different ways, right? In the lunar call, as the hologram coming up out of the crab, and then in the commercial at the end. And
that's one of my favorite days.
Yeah, well, dude, and so we got 3 different distinct looks out of our probably top build talent there, all from a 4-hour shoot day.
And we were able to put him throughout the movie, so he does not just shows up and then is gone. It feels like he's part of he is a bigger part of the movie. It doesn't feel like it. He really is. And he has some of the best exposition in the movie. He's the one that's kind of spelling out the themes for us. And the hologram stuff is probably my favorite visual effect of the whole movie. The hologram looks great.
We also get one of the most iconic lines from the movie from his hologram.
Good luck, moron. I live in space. Bye.
It's a laugh every time.
It does. It hits every time.
I love that you left the sound effect of him just stringing down.
Yeah, that's that line. So many of those lines, there are things in there that I did not think, were. I like a cerebral joke, and some of my favorite jokes in the movie never get laughs. And that line, not that it's not smart, but like that delivery is what makes that funny. Yeah. And so his delivery.
But it
so
was
good.
written as "bye" with multiple
Yes.
e's. Like it was always going to be.
Where did that come from? I feel like that's something you and I would do.
Bye.
I don't know. I know the first time I heard it on set was when we were filming the gangs coverage, and Nate was doing the read.
Yeah. We had written it.
Yeah.
I remember writing
Yeah.
it. I just don't remember. I know it came from somewhere.
I don't know.
It's probably me. Anyway, moving on. Some more buttons I have no business hitting.
Yeah. How about this one?
That's the one.
Yeah.
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 So, Danny, a question for you. Again, looking back, so we shot this movie over 2 years ago. First time director then.
First time director now.
Second time director now.
Does sound like he's going to say that.
A super accomplished, seasoned Hollywood director now.
Yeah.
What?
I have been to Hollywood.
It's true. On our press tour.
That's true.
Yeah. What advice would you give yourself looking back on day one, knowing what you know now, having gone through everything we did together, pulling this movie across the finish line?
I think I would tell myself to shoot more. I think I I knew
Like inserts?
Inserts, yeah.
You guys have referenced that a few times. Why do you keep because that was a thing, right?
Because I was pretty adamant that I didn't want it. And I still do feel this way in that inserts, I think, should be used sparingly. I think an insert is telling the audience to, hey, pay attention to this. This thing is really important. And I do think there are a lot of, maybe not a lot, but there are filmmakers and editors who use them as a bridge when they don't have anything to cut to.
Right.
And so they'll just cut to an insert so that they can get out of that shot and get into the next shot. And when they're used that way, I don't like it. I think it's a messy editing technique.
How do you think our editor felt? Did he wish he had inserts? Or?
I've had many angry conversations with him, and he definitely wanted more inserts.
Who cut the film, Danny?
I cut the film. I cut the film.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the specific scenarios that we didn't shoot inserts, but I do remember at least once a week for the 3 weeks, Nate and I both would look at you and say, Danny, you sure you don't want an insert of this? And it was always, nope.
Yeah.
And then when we got an insert, Nate and I both were like, you sure you want an insert?
You know what's funny is when I was editing the movie, there's a scene where when Porter gets shot at the very beginning of the movie, she goes down and she's got she's been shot in the stomach. So we shot all of that stuff the first day, and we came back later to get the shot of the blood, to get the close up of the blood seeping between her fingers. And when we're shooting that, Quinn she's sitting there and she's going, so when we shot this last time, my hand was here. Like, are you sure? I was like, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And when I'm editing the movie, I hear myself saying, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And I'm yelling at myself, do worry about it. It's a jump cut now. You should have worried. She's right. But yeah, it's, I think, I was really focused on staying on schedule and getting everybody out on time, and just trying to keep the train moving and trying to keep everything on track. And I think in doing that, I sacrificed some coverage that if we went back and did it a second time, I would like more coverage of some of the scenes. And that's not just inserts, that's across the board. There were just scenes where I had shot listed it out and coverage was missing from that shot list. And I just said, nope, we're not going to do it, because the way I had pre-vised it in my head was we don't need it. And I think by and large, probably like 8 times out of 10, we didn't need it. But the times when we did, I was really kicking myself that we didn't have it.
That's good advice.
That is good advice.
And to your credit, I mean, you did, I could tell you held that commitment to getting people out on 10-hour days as sacred, and so that did probably motivate a lot of us to stay on task. And I was appreciative that we weren't shooting 10 takes of whatever just to see if there was something else there. You had a pretty good idea when you had what you wanted.
And generally, most of the takes that are in the movie are the second or third take, sometimes the first. Yeah, I feel like when you have good actors, they're giving you their best stuff pretty early on. Barring any technical issues, usually the first few takes are the best ones. And I do feel like you're just kind of burning energy and burning their emotions out. They're not machines. Actors, they will wear out. They will get tired of doing that scene, and they can only bring so much to it every take. And especially like high intensity energy scenes, like you want them to, they're giving you everything they got those first few takes, and there are going to be diminishing returns if you keep shooting it.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. What about for you, Phil? So as an executive producer, not to remove your actor hat for a second, which I know is very difficult for you.
Yeah, I know. But it's my favorite. It's my favorite hat.
It's your favorite hat, I know. As an executive producer, looking back, knowing what you know now, what advice?
Oh yeah, would have never done it. Would have never made the movie for sure. 100%. No. Yeah. No, man. I mean, as an executive producer specifically, now that we've walked this whole path from principal to where we're at now, I probably would have had that experience of it's been a roller coaster ride the past 2 years as we've been through ups and downs of distribution and representation and all these things, but in terms of like our experience on set for those 3 weeks that we shot, there's not much that I would change, because again, the vibes were so high, and the camaraderie was so tight that like I mean, I think we got the best stuff that we could get out of everyone at that time. You know, now if we were to when hopefully we get to shoot a sequel, everybody will bring whatever experience they've picked up from then to now. But at that moment in time, we were all doing the absolute best that we could with what we had. Right. And so to everybody's point, it's like, are there some things that I would have done differently? Well, yeah, now in light of this additional experience. But at the time, man, everybody gave it 110%. Which is why I think for a low budget thing, we're able to make some waves in the way that we are, whether that's with reviews and critics or press or whatever, you know, wherever the needle's out there moving on social media. I mean, all that is a direct result of people not half-assing it.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, to your point around the vibes being so high, I mean, you know, we've heard that from so many of our different cast and crew over the last year of just what their experience was like on set. It was unlike anything they had worked on in the past, in a good way. So I think, you know, to your credit, being the captain of this ship, like, great work.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Anything you'd change from a cinematography standpoint?
Nope. Loved it all.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably more technical things than anything else. And it's also a budgetary thing. Like, you know, we didn't have a steady cam operator at all for this film. And that would have been great for some of the shots that ended up being handheld, but they still work handheld. And, you know, like, when we get the opportunity to do 2 and 3, I'm confident we'll have a dedicated camera operator.
Well, and that's been our mantra, Danny and I, for a long time since we shot it, which is like, oh, I wish we had this or that. It's not that movie.
Right.
That movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I can remember us talking about shots that I wanted to get and be like, all right, and then we'll crane in, or, you know, we'll come in this way. We don't got that.
Nope.
We're like, all right, we'll dolly, but nope, we don't got that.
Yeah, we did have a dolly for the whole run of
And
the
we had a
3
cool
weeks, which was
jib.
great.
We
Yeah.
brought a dope jib, and one of those shots made its way in. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some cool. I thought there's some really cool camera work being done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have talked about it, and maybe even this one, but in previous episodes. But I do really appreciate how the camera work was so informed by what was happening in the scene, and that we talked a lot about that, and I think your instincts were always spot on in those moments. And
Thank you.
there's one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Kinder's kind of coming clean to everybody, and we were standing there watching it in the Nashville screening, and just like, man, I just love the way this looks. It's just so subtle, but it really is evocative, and it really does give you that slightly off kilter like experience, and like you can kind of it really enhances the performance that Skylar's giving there, where you feel his tension and unsureness and how everything's kind of shaky.
Yeah. Like, and, you know, I appreciate that. For that one specifically, I can remember thinking, like, it would be great to see this coming clean, this confession, like, from the gang's point of view completely. It's like I shot his entire coverage standing in between them where one of them would be, and tried to mimic the same body movement they were having when we turned around and shot the reverse, which was, you know, I think it worked out. So,
and then that line when he's, you know, Cypher's line at that end of that scene with just ends with you surrounded by the corpses of all your friends, and we're in that wide where he's surrounded by all of them.
Yep.
It's a great shot.
yeah, it worked out. It was great.
Cool.
Awesome.
So, other thing I'd add, so as the executive producer of a film that's doing pretty well, I have so much gratitude for somebody like Kevin Smith that has so graciously kind of laid open every aspect of his indie filmmaking journey. And, you know, just want everybody that's out there right now that might be watching us, if you guys have any questions, if there's any way that we can be helpful to anybody out there, hit us up in our DMs, you know, slide in and ask your question. And I know I would love to be of service in the way that some of the people that have come before us have, which is, that's how you do it. That's how you make it. You find the people that have walked the path before,
Yep.
ask them how they did it, and then you take your own journey, and maybe some of it looks like theirs and some of it is going to be completely your own. But in any case, man, learning from people that have been there before just is such a nice thing to get to do.
Yeah. Christopher Nolan's not opening up his DMs, but Danny Dones.
I'm begging you to get in my DMs. I'm so lonely. I just want to talk to you
About film? Anything.
about anything.
Anything.
What's going on? Hey, how you doing? What's going on?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, again, I appreciate really great conversation, a lot of good insight into the making of Clone Cops. It was fun. I think in our next episode, we're going to spend some time with our cast and maybe some crew, definitely some cast. We'll get them all together. That'll be fun, right?
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Am I the only one getting that hype? All right, I'm sorry.
We just ate lunch. I am comatose.